It's so nice to be here, you guys. I'm usually hosting, so it's so lovely to see a few of your faces. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, this is my favorite story, so I'm so excited to share it with you. So when I was 25, I had just become a yoga teacher, and I was diving headfirst into all things spiritual. Now, I was already pretty existentially inclined, so now that I was like diving headfirst into this world of spirituality, I was feeling pretty anxious, like I was stuck with some big meaning of life questions. So for example, my yoga teacher at the time, do you guys know the term spiritual bypassing? Yeah, some of you do, some of you don't. Okay, so for example, like spiritual bypassing, like if this yoga teacher did something great, he would be like, I manifested that with my mind. And if he did something like objectively douchey, he would be like, I was just living in my truth. It was divinely orchestrated. That really stressed me out because I was like, which one is it? Is everything divinely orchestrated, or are we in charge of our own reality? You know, like what is this intersection between fate and free will? I really needed to know the answer. I know it sounds silly, but it felt very urgent to me. Like I was very stressed and overwhelmed by the weight of feeling responsible for my destiny. And so much so that I felt like I couldn't move forward with big life choices until I had the answer. Namely, at that time, being like, what am I doing with my life? Like, should I stay in New York and continue being an actress, or should I move somewhere else in the world and just be like a yoga teacher? And so, I did what any 25-year-old having a quarter-life existential crisis would do in that moment. I bought a one-way ticket to India to solo backpack across the country, as you do. But of course, as soon as I got there, I got really sick, as you do in India. I stuck it out for a few months, but I was always sick and always tired between the flu and food poisoning. It wasn't easy. Still, I stuck it out. I sought out sages and meditation centers and Dharma talks at the Dalai Lama's temple, specifically looking for the answer to the question, what is the intersection between fate and free will, like divine orchestration and free will? And after a few months of seeking in some of the world's most holy places, I was no closer to finding the answer than when I started, so I threw in the towel and did what any 25-year-old having a quarter-life crisis would do. I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand to learn how to scuba dive. As you do. So I got to the island of Koh Tao, and right away I signed up for my first scuba diving lesson and became friends with my scuba dive instructor. Went back to her place to like hang out or watch a movie or whatever, and she popped out to run an errand. And in that time, I looked out of the second story like living room window, and I saw this beautiful view of the jungle. And underneath of which, what looked like to me a suitable balcony of sorts, like a porch roof you could stand on, made of like metal or like layers of tin. So I climbed out the window to stand on this to get a better view. Immediately when I climbed onto it, I heard a crack beneath my feet. And it was not metal or tin, it was plastic that looked like metal or tin. And I thought, oh, okay, cool, this is how I die. And I quickly turned around to jump back into the window, but it was too late. I fell straight through about 12 feet onto concrete. Not a great day for me. And I want you guys to understand that after all of the health issues I had in India, I was so determined to be okay in this situation. So as soon as I fell, I swear to God, my first thought was, nope, not today, injury. Not doing it. I'm fine. I'm fine. And I stood up like nothing happened, blood everywhere, covered in dirt, and just like nonchalantly walked back to the steps to go back up to the apartment. And at which point I collapsed. My body went into shock. I was struggling to breathe. I was clearly not fine. I mean, all things considered, like I could have died. What ended up happening was I broke some ribs. I tore my shoulder. Obviously got the wind knocked out of me. It was just very swollen, very not fine. My hair even started falling out from the trauma. It took days to walk again, and it took like weeks for me to lift my arm. Again, grateful to be alive. But after a few weeks, I was well enough to like wander around. So I walked down to this juice bar in the middle of the island and ordered a coconut and was there just like sitting, feeling sorry for myself, trying to change my flight, until I could actually physically put on a backpack and go home. And I thought, woe is me, right? Like, I'm here on the spiritual quest, and of all the places to fall through a roof and get stuck, I had to do it in the least spiritual place in Southeast Asia. Like, I was in the broiest part of Thailand. Nothing spiritual was happening there. It was just a lot of bars and ping pong and scuba diving. And I was like, no, I'm never going to find the answer to my question. Then I felt like a failure, truly. Like, maybe some people in life are just meant to figure it out, and I just wasn't one of them. And then, lo and behold, out of nowhere comes this man, and he sits down next to me. And this man reminds me of the comic book store guy from The Simpsons. You guys remember him? If you don't, here's a refresher. He had like a goatee, balding, ponytail, big belly, Hawaiian shirt. This guy had like a lisp. He was talked with a lisp, and he was like annoyingly jolly. And he sits down next to me, and he says to the woman behind the counter, who was juice tending for us, he ordered his wheatgrass shot, and she couldn't have been more than 20 years old, chewing her gum like on her phone. And he says, "Hey, Stephanie, what do you want to talk about today?" And she's like, "I don't care." She was British. That was my British accent. And he is unfazed by her apathy. And so he says to her, "How about the illusion of time?" I was like, sorry to interrupt you guys. Hi, I'm Eli. I would love to talk about the illusion of time with you. And we get to talking, and you guys, he's a quantum physicist. They're on some sort of grant from America, and I get so excited, and I'm like, oh my God, you're a quantum physicist? I have a question. I've got to know, what is the intersection between fate and free will? Because, man, I've got to know who is driving this ship. And he tells me the answer. And I feel just like completely resolved. Oh, did you guys want to know what he said? I guess I could tell you. Okay. He explained to me that both free will and divine orchestration exist and don't exist at the same time, right? Because they're like constructs of the mind. They're basically just stories that we tell ourselves to manufacture a sense of safety and belonging in reality. But the truth is, he used this metaphor. He said, the eye can't see the eye. Like the eyeball can't see the eyeball because it's a part of a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. Just like us, we as human beings are a part of this vast universe with so many forces at play all the time that are always making this moment inevitable. You ready for this? He said, we are always in exactly the right place, at exactly the right time, in exactly the right circumstances, with exactly the right people. Otherwise, you would be somewhere else and somebody else entirely. I know. And I was like, oh my God, the profound relief I felt, just like all of this existential dread just lifted off my shoulders. And I started crying right there in the juice bar. And I said, oh my God, thank you so much. I understand now. You know, it's all pretend, right? So this idea that we have control is an illusion, but we need to pretend we have control to live a life, right? And so that's kind of fun. Like, I can play pretend. But then I sort of snapped back into reality, whatever that means. And I said, but wait, sir, I still have to figure out what I'm doing with my life. Like, I have to fly back to New York City, and I have to make a choice. How does one make a choice? Like, who is the one doing the choosing? And without skipping a beat, he just said, all you have to do is set your sails in a sea of grace. Or more like, just set your sails in a sea of grace. And I did what any 25-year-old having a quarter-life existential crisis would do in that moment. I got that phrase tattooed on my back. As you do. I flew back to New York a few weeks later, not because I'd figured out my destiny, but because I learned something better. How to dance with uncertainty. I entertained the idea that maybe the best part about being human isn't having all the answers, but it's learning to set your sails anyway and trusting that the winds will take you where you need to go. And sometimes that means falling through a roof in Thailand so that you can meet a quantum physicist at a juice bar who reminds you the whole game is rigged in your favor, and you just get to play. Thank you.
Eli Walker, everyone.